Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by the Cigar Vixen channel. I'm Delicia, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be doing a cigar review, and within that review I'm going to be showing you guys this really cool lounge that I visited recently, which is home to these cigars. And at the very end of the video I'm going to share with you my special segment of her very first smoke, so be sure to watch the video all the way through to check out that little bonus feature at the very end. So as I mentioned, we're going to be doing a review, and I want to talk to you a little bit about these cigars here. They're called Bloodline, and it's at the very bottom of the band it says Bloodline and then OPA or OPA, which stands for three very legendary growers in Nicaragua that can trace their roots all the way back to Cuba, which is why, again, they're using that really cool name of Bloodline. So to give you a little bit of history on that, the O stands for Oliva, the P is for Perez, and the A, Aganorsa. Any of you that smoke cigars should be somewhat familiar with those names because you'll find their tobacco in close to probably 60 to 70% of the cigars that you smoke. They're huge growers. Again, now they're in Nicaragua, tracing those roots back to Cuba. And what's happened with these cigars, it's a very neat thing. I'm going to give you, again, I gave you a little bit of history of the name, but I want to talk to you about the actual process of the tobacco that's being used in these very special cigars. So in the main line, you have the blonde, Bloodline, you have the Habano, and then you have the Maduro or the brunette, which is cool. And it's a very, very well thought out process of making the cigars, the tobacco, as well as the marketing behind it. I really love it. This was started by Micah Johnson. He is the owner of a very cool lounge, as I mentioned, in Fresno as well as Clovis. So the name of the lounge is Cigars Limited, and I visited recently. It's a really cool spot. Great layout. So as soon as you walk in, you have a lot of room to find seating, different little areas for seating, lots of TVs, of course, to watch all the games. Great humidor. I was blown away by this guy's humidor. Amazing. He has a great selection and just very spacious. Aside from that, you have your locker area, and then you have a really neat patio outside. So lots of different options when you go to that lounge. Really cool. And as I mentioned, that humidor is just amazing. So getting back to the actual cigar, this was a line that Micah started. He's another one of those, I call him cigar nerds, very passionate about cigars, about the process, about the tobacco, and he's very knowledgeable. So I was really interested in learning a little bit about this cigar before I actually smoked him. So as I mentioned, that process that they're using is very different. It's called a soft crush. Now, what that means is during a regular fermentation, if you've ever been to a factory, the tobacco, once it's been cured, they make these pilones. So they form, these piles of the different tobacco leaf based on the primings and whatnot. And in this situation, during that first fermentation, they're actually using that soft crush process, which is fairly unique for cigars. What they do, according to Micah, I haven't seen it myself, but he was explaining it a little bit to me, is they put these bricks on the very top, which that actually helps to expel some of the heat and the oil from the tobacco. It speeds up that process a little bit, but it's also similar to olive oil and the process and what they do to the grapes, the olives, and what that does, and it adds this different type of flavor. So it's really unique. When I smoked these cigars, I've actually smoked all of them, and when I smoked them, it was totally something like very unique. It was a completely different experience than I was expecting. So the blonde, again, is using the lighter Connecticut wrapper, and it's a very unique profile. It's something that's still going to be on that lighter side, but it just has these really unexpected flavor tones. So if you're somebody that likes that lighter, more mild cigar, this is going to be the way to go for you to try out the blonde. It's a good morning cigar, as well as throughout the day, or if you're just somebody who likes that more mild cigar, this would be the way to go. Personally, I was torn between the two. I really enjoyed the Habano as well as the Maduro, and I smoked them on and off that night, both of them. I actually started backwards. I did the Maduro first, and then I went to the Habano. But today, for the purpose of the review, I'm going to do the Habano because it's kind of more middle of the road, and it's probably, from what I saw in that night in the humidor, it's kind of the more popular one. So The Habano it has a beautiful Rosado Habano wrapper, and it has 75% ligero, which under any other circumstances, if you were to smoke a Habano cigar with 75% ligero, it would probably be way too much. It would probably like knock you on your behind. So, but in this case, because of that soft crush process, it just creates this really smooth, really unique, very nice flavor. So again, before I spoil it too much, I want to go ahead and just light it up and smoke it with you guys. The great thing about this line as well is it is his blend. He does have it available, of course, in both of his lounges, but you can also find them online. So you can go to cigarslimited.com and you can try them out depending on where you are in the country. You can order them and you can, try them out for yourself. I know a lot of you always ask, where can I get that cigar? I can't find it in my local brick and mortar, so you can definitely order it online from him directly if you'd like. But just a really neat experience, but really good looking as well. When you just first, aesthetically, aside from the really cool band, it just has a really beautiful looking wrapper, a little bit of sheen to it. It's a little more on the brown side for a Rosado than I'm used to seeing, but it just has a really pretty look to it. And it's that slight box press as well. And it has a lot of different sizes that it comes in. So pretty much meets across the board for anybody, whether you like the larger ring gauges or, the smaller ones, they're pretty much covered on that. So the pre-lit draw, you get, as I mentioned, unique. You get kind of a floral type of something. And it's pretty subtle, but it has a little bit of that sweetness to it. So as I mentioned, very smooth. You don't get any kind of like kick. I mean, in a bad way. You don't get that like slap of spice that sometimes you get when there's a lot of that, again, a lot of the ligero, or even sometimes with that Habano leaf, you get a different type of thing. So this one, the aroma is incredible. And now that I'm smoking it here on my own again, I'm really getting those aroma notes, because at the lounge, of course, everybody's smoking, so you kind of get that mixture of aromas going on throughout. But now that I'm alone and I'm, getting a nice whiff of the aroma, it's incredible. It's very inviting. It has a nice toastiness to it, a little bit of a cedar type of an element, but the smoke itself it's smooth. It's hard to describe even, because I mentioned it's such a unique thing, but it's really, really smooth. So there's a hint, a very, very small amount of a cinnamon spice, almost like a cinnamon sugar, like you would imagine if you ever had the toast with a little bit of butter and the cinnamon sugar on it. It kind of has that element. It's kind of a weird way to describe it, but you get a little bit of that toasty, the bread, and you get that sweet underlying something. You also get a little bit of that floral, as I mentioned, but not your traditional floral. It's kind of like a little bit of jasmine, yeah, you get a little bit of the jasmine, and you get a little tiny bit of a mint. Real subtle. Don't mix that up too much with the toasty and the sweet. There's just a very, very subtle amount of a minty, kind of a peppermint in there. But again, it's very, very subtle, but really good. I mean, it completely surprised me. Again, just reading about the blend. Sometimes when you look at cigars and you kind of read what they have in it, you have a little bit of an idea of what they're going to taste like. But with this one, you just don't, because it's completely different than anything I've ever smoked. It just has a really unique presence about it. Again, just very, very smooth. I would never guess that it has that much ligero in it. It just doesn't even, and again, for those of you who aren't familiar with ligero, I'm talking about it a lot. It's one of the most top parts of the plant. It's the part that spends the most time, on the leaf, on the plant itself, out in the sun normally. And it's the thicker, it has the most nicotine in it. So it's a stronger leaf that's used. And usually it's just a little bit that people put in their cigars to give it that extra, little oomph. And in this case, it has so much of it, but you really can't tell. I mean, you just don't get that overwhelming strength from it. It's just really, really smooth. So as I mentioned, I'm babbing on too much about everything. I'm gonna go ahead and show you the lounge itself and give you a nice little tour. So stay tuned for that, and then I'll be back for the second half to let you know how the tastes are. So back for the second half on the Bloodline Habano. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the little tour of that incredible lounge, again in Fresno, California. And one other thing that I wanted to comment on that I noticed, and it really stood out to me on that lounge in particular, were the people that were there. I try to do my best to kind of talk to everybody. And what was great and what I really noticed was that there was such a mixture of people and everybody got along. And it was one of those lounges where you walk in as a stranger and everybody smiles at you. They say hello. It's not one of those like, oh, if you don't know anybody, you're kind of like you feel out of place. I've been into those types of lounges too, and they're not exactly places that I like to return to. And this one wasn't like that. It was just such a welcoming crowd. I mean, I went all kinds of conversations across the board, from talking about the weather and the locals to talking about, sports. And there was quite a few Giants fans there. Of course, I'm a Dodger fan, so that was fun. But yeah, it was just a great crowd of people that were there. And for the most part, I think the majority were like the regulars. There were a handful of people that came in for the event that had never been there before. And I think they also commented on that because I had some great conversations with everybody there. So that was just one thing I wanted to add. Hopefully you guys get a chance to visit. If you're in that area, I definitely encourage you to go by. Back to the cigar itself. So the flavors now, they've shifted a little bit, and I'm picking up a little bit more of a cedar. There's a mixture of some anise, as well as like a clove type of flavor. Not real strong, but just a little bit of that. There's probably like that mint in the beginning that's kind of shifted into more of that clove. Still, again, that nice little cedar. Not a ton of spice. And again, I'm just super surprised because of the amount of the ligero, again, that there's not more of a spice kick to it. It's just, again, smooth and silky. Those are like the best ways for me to describe it. It's just, you feel that it has some power to it. Definitely very relaxed at the moment, but it doesn't hit you with anything like that's super strong. It's just a really nice, enjoyable smoke. But I mentioned to you guys that I was going to share with you her very first smoke segment. And before I do that, I want to talk to you about the cigar that we're actually smoking, because it's different than the one that I'm doing today. But it happens to also be a line that Micah Johnson, again, the owner of the lounge, came up with. And it's a really neat idea. So during the event, there was this beautiful woman that walked in with her husband, and of course they go into the humidor, and I'm in there, and I'm helping the husband find a cigar. And I ask her, like, oh, what are you going to smoke tonight? And she's like, oh, I don't smoke cigars. I've never smoked before. And so of course, I had to ask her, like, hey, would you try one? It's really a neat thing. If you come in here a lot with your husband, it's a great hobby to get into. And so she was really, really sweet, and she's like, yeah, I'll try one. So we picked out a different cigar for her, and the cigar that we chose, there's two different ones, and they're called Cubata Cru, and it's a really neat concept. So it's not an infused cigar, but it's kind of like somewhere in that midpoint of between infused and just regular premium cigar. It's a really neat thing. So for those of you who are fans of like taking your cigar and dipping the tip of it into your cognac or your rum. It's kind of along those lines. So what it is these two different cigars. There's a lighter and there's the Maduro. And they're both made at La Aurora factory in the Dominican Republic. So it has that really nice traditional type of Dominican profile. There's a little bit of Nicaraguan tobacco mixed in there as well. But what's great is on the very tip, there is rum and organic brown sugar. And come to find out, not just any rum, not just any special dark rum, but actually the La Aurora rum. So any of you that follow me know I always rave about this rum. Anytime I go visit their factory, it's kind of like a joke where, you know, it's nice to see everybody and hi, how are you? Where's the rum? Kind of a thing. Because the rum is that good. It's incredible. It's not available in a lot of different spots, although there's a rumor that it's going to be coming to the US soon. Hopefully that's true, because it's such an incredible rum. It just has this beautiful aging to it. It's a nice añejo, strong. It has a beautiful sweet profile to it. And so these cigars that I'm going to smoke with the girl, they have that tip. She's smoking the lighter. I went ahead and tried the Maduro, of course. And it's just a really, really nice flavor. And again, I'm not huge on like the infused type of concept, but this one isn't. It just has that nice little sweet tip. And hers, of course, is the lighter of the two I mentioned. That hers is a Connecticut shade grown in the Dominican Republic, and mine being the Maduro, again with that beautiful Dominican profile. But here goes, check it out. Okay.
What's your name again?
Delicia.
Delicia. What are you? What are you?
Mexicana.
Mexicana? Really? Okay, I thought it was...
Okay.
Delicia.
Delicia.
Delicia, like delicious?
Yeah.
Delicia. Really?
Yeah.
Delicia. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure they.
There's a store right there, yeah.
Yamilet, and I go by Yami.
Oh,
people
Yami.
are like,
Oh, okay.
Oh, Yami,
Yamilet.
like I'm like, oh my
yeah.
god.
Yeah. No, I have a friend named Yamilet. That's awesome. Okay. So we're here tonight at Cigars Limited, and we're finding another new smoker, Miss Yami, who is here joining us for her very first smoke. So we have a treat. I'm actually going to smoke one with you. I'm smoking a Maduro version, and I'm going to have you smoke the Connecticut because it's a little bit easier of a smoke.
Okay.
But what's nice about this cigar, it's called the Cubata Cru, and it's made in one of the oldest factories, if not the oldest factory out in the Dominican Republic. It's made at La Aurora Cigars. And it's not exactly an infused cigar. It's kind of like a bridgeway, I guess you could say, between a premium cigar and an infused, being that the very tip has a very special aged rum. La Aurora factory makes their own rum, and it's a phenomenal rum. So the very tip of this has an organic brown sugar and a little bit of that rum just again on the tip, but the rest of the cigar is a very traditional Dominican type of tobacco. There's a little bit of Nicaraguan tobacco inside as well. And then on the outside is a Connecticut shade
and I'll be
wrapper.
able to taste it.
Yeah, you'll be able to taste it. So
okay.
Basically, before we light up, I want to just talk to you a little bit about how to kind of smoke it and get the most experience from your smoke. So the most important, or one of the most important, is cutting it. So when you cut it, you just want to, what I like to do is put a little bit of like an eye shape in the cutter, and you just want to take a little snip. This happens to be one of my favorite sizes too. It's a little bit short of a lancero, and it's a very elegant type of smoke. So right now, when I did that little cut, you can see I just took a little bit off the cap. Go ahead and take a little draw. It's called a cold draw. Just pull the air through.
Really?
Yeah, just to see if it's enough. Do you get a little bit of an airflow through there? Mm-hmm. Do you taste some of the?
Oh my God, it's sweet.
It's sweet, huh?
Oh, it's good.
So I'm gonna cut mine too, and then we'll go ahead and we'll light them up together. And these are great. Like as I mentioned, that one is the Connecticut, and then this one is the Maduro. They're both made in La Aurora factory in the Dominican Republic. So
the difference
really
in color.
Nice. The difference is in the color and also the overall profile. So most people are afraid of the darker colors. They feel like it's going to be really strong, but that's not always the case. It's usually it's just stronger in flavor, not necessarily in the actual nicotine content. So when you smoke it, you'll kind of get a feel for, how strong it is and the different flavors. But that one is a nice way to start, especially if you've never smoked a cigar. It's a great way to kind of be introduced to the art of smoking.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and toast it for you. And really what you want to do is, the torch flame is super hot, so you don't want to actually put your cigar directly into the flame. You just want to hold it a little bit on top, and you want to just move it around, kind of like you're toasting a marshmallow. You just want to toast the foot of the cigar and just give it a little bit so that it kind of looks like a flashlight head. Especially with the Connecticut, it'll burn really easy on the outside, and it'll alter the taste of the cigar, and it could make it bitter if it gets too hot. So now that it's toasted, I'm gonna have you take a puff, and when you take a puff, I'm gonna actually light the very end of it for you.
Okay.
Go ahead and take a little puff.
That was
And
good. A little bit
just
strong.
make sure you don't want to inhale it at all. You just want to bring it in your mouth, kind of swish it around, almost like you're tasting wine. Like swish it around your mouth and then blow the smoke back out. And I'm going to smoke this one with you.
So you're not inhaling at all.
You just kind of bring it in, move the smoke around your mouth,
I like that
and blow it back out.
aftertaste.
I know.
It's a
I
little bit
actually, this
sweet.
is the first time I smoked this one. It's really nice. Wow. Because you still get the traditional flavors of a regular cigar, but it has that nice little sweet. That's good. Really nice.
Cubata Cru.
So aside from the obvious sweet that you get, is there any other flavors that you're noticing on it?
Let me see.
It's not a test, don't worry.
I might finish it all before now. Let's see. No, just that sweet.
The sweet is very
yes.
nice, huh?
Mhm.
It kind of brings a nice change of pace to things. So like I mentioned, this is a good introductory cigar. So as you hopefully continue your journey of smoking cigars, you can mix things up. But this is, again, just a nice way to kind of introduce you
So
to
it's not so
smoking.
strong,
It's not
right?
as strong. Again, that sweetness really eases you into things. And then when you finish that, you can always venture out into trying, different types of cigars. And again, don't be afraid to try the darker wrapper. It doesn't always mean that they're going to be super strong. It just means that they're going to have a lot more flavor, sometimes more of the cocos, the coffee notes, things like that. But it
Cocoa.
has, yeah. But it has a good, when you get past that initial sweetness, it has a nice traditional, as I mentioned, a traditional Dominican style. Has that little bit of spice. It has a really nice profile, actually. Where are you from originally?
Honduras.
Ah.
My grandma used to smoke. Great grandma used to smoke
Ah,
cigars.
you guys grow
We
a
call
lot
them
of
puros. Yeah, they grow
you guys
that in
grow a lot
Honduras.
of tobacco. There's a lot of
Yes.
good cigars coming from
Yes,
Honduras.
my
too.
uncle, her son used to make his own tobacco, so his
Really?
own cigars.
Oh,
Yes.
well, I'm
So
honored to
I've
have
been
you
around.
try your first cigar with me. Wow, that's incredible. So, do you like it? I mean, do you think that it's something that you could see yourself doing again?
I thought it was gonna be stronger, like cigarettes, but
Mhm.
it's a lot softer. So yeah, I would try it again,
Yeah.
and it doesn't smell bad.
No, I think it
So-
actually smells really good.
Being in here is like I thought, oh my god, it's
Yeah.
stink in there. It's not. It's really.
Well, we're
It's very
actually breaking
soft.
we're breaking the rules because we're smoking
They're
inside
not
of a
supposed to-
humidor.
But you know what? When you're around people that smoke, that
Yeah.
are smoking cigarettes,
Yeah.
it's really bad. I think.
Yeah.
I can't
Oh,
stand
yeah.
it.
They have a very pungent
Too
type of a
strong.
smell.
Yeah, this is
no
very
cigars
soft.
are they're almost like inviting. They just make you kind of want to try that out.
Now I
That's
see why
good.
a lot of my friends like it too.
Good. Well, I hope that you try more cigars, and hopefully we get a chance to hang out and we can
Yes,
smoke, multiple
that would be
cigars together.
nice.
That'd be great. So, thank you so much
No,
for trying it
thank
out.
you.
And again, I hope you try it again. And thanks for coming down. I really appreciate it.
I will.
Awesome. Cheers.
Salud.
Salud. So joining you for the final third again on the Bloodline Habano. Hopefully you enjoyed this unique video. The flavors on this last little portion, there's been a little bit of an addition of some white pepper to the mix. Really on that retrohale you feel it towards this last little bit. But really that's been the only time I've gotten a pepper element from it. It also still had a little bit of that cedar. The clove that was there in that second third kind of dissipated, so I don't really get too much of that anymore. Now it's more cedar, white pepper, and there's still a little bit of a sweetness in there, just kind of underlying. But it's a really nice cigar, as I mentioned, and I probably said it a million times. Very smooth, very silky, just something that's very unique, again, for the tobacco being used in there. the complete profile is just something out of this world. So highly recommend that you guys try it. And of course, all the cigars that I mentioned today can be found either at Cigars Limited in Fresno or Clovis, or online at cigarslimited.com. But I highly recommend you guys try them out. And please, when you do, post your comments, let me know what you think. And as always, I thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Cheers.